And now, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go ahead and hopefully tonight I can get one of these things to work. Last time, old Instagram over there wasn't working. So, hey, everybody. It's Tuesday night, which means for me, it's Let's Draw Together with Shanzi. So we've been through really a number of topics the last couple of weeks. We've done figure drawing, we've done face drawing, and people drawing and whatnot. Let's see, then we did perspective for a couple of weeks where we covered 1-point perspective and we covered 2-point perspective so that you could see things going from different angles. Today, what I'd like to do is kind of revisit one of the most popular topics and certainly one of the things that I tend to get the most questions about. And that is, many of you follow me personally, so I definitely appreciate all the love and the supporting comments that I get from you guys. But I certainly do receive a lot of questions about drawing people and how do I draw people. So, my lesson plan for tonight is really to, just kind of show you some of the techniques that I like to use, some of the different ways that I approach the face and making and things like that. So many of y'all saw the portrait that I drew earlier today. I posted that already to social media because I was super proud of it, but also because I want to take this idea and then enhance it. I'm going to get into a little bit of color tonight. I don't use like full vivid colors usually in a lot of my portraits unless I'm doing something more in watercolor. But with colored pencil, I tend to use a more limited range. I don't know why. Maybe that's just the way that I've been making art. And maybe it's time for me to experiment a little bit. Those of you who have been with me for a while know that, I've got a pretty laissez-faire attitude when it comes to making art. And really the whole point is to have fun and enjoy the process of experimenting and failing. That brings to mind kind of the idea of failure and really what an important tool failure is in life. I mean, many of us who go down the journey of competence towards something, the only way that we really get there is by failing and failing and failing and failing. And then you just kind of learn like, maybe I shouldn't do it that way. Maybe I could do it this way. So I certainly failed a lot in drawing faces, and I certainly don't expect, one video to make you a master. But at least what my hope for tonight is that, we're at least going to move just a little bit more progress toward that goal. If you just want to hang out, listen to me talk a little bit, and watch me draw, that's cool too. I am going to change the format of the show a little bit. I prefer to use the term sessions just because I want you there who are with me to feel like you're not just watching me. I want it to be interactive for you as well. So if there's a question that you have that you want to shoot out to me, many of you guys have done great by actually sending me messages privately offline, off the video. But if it's something that you want me to address, while I'm up live, I can show you. So that would be really my treat. What's up, Rick Stevens? What's up, guys? So anyway, all right, a couple of other announcements. The masks are doing great. I know that a lot of places are talking about early release. So be safe. This show isn't about politics, but what we're dealing with is a virus, and being an investment advisor, I certainly understand the role of a healthy economy. But so far, we've had a little over 50,000 deaths with this kind of impact on the economy. If this thing goes against us and we wind up having 20 million deaths, well, that will cause irrevocable and devastating economic and emotional toil that the last 6 weeks will look like a retreat to the nicest spa you've ever been to. And if you've never been to a spa, it'll be like the most satisfying day of your life. And if we go back too soon, well, that very likely could happen. Parabolas. If you've never done math, I would just encourage you to look up parabolas, because often that's the way stuff goes down. Works that way in finance. You ever want to talk about personal finance? Never mind. I can't advertise on these kind of channels. So anyway, let's talk about the face. So we all got them. You got one. I've got one. Oh, you know what? By the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Throw me a thumbs up like. I would appreciate it. That helps me grow the channel. Ultimately, I'm still working on a website to bring additional literature and information about like what kind of papers I like to use, different types of papers. That way I can be a little bit less explaining on the show and more, action, excitement, satisfaction. Also, this video was not brought to you by AHA Water, but I will say slap bang. This particular one is the citrus and green tea. This is Sprite, man. If you like Sprite, but you don't want to like have the sugar in your body like me, here it is. Found it. You're welcome. Gotta stay hydrated. Okay, so first of all, I kind of want to talk about the regions of the face. So I'm working on black paper tonight, just for fun. Busted out my black gesso here recently, and I really just am enjoying what I'm able to do with the black gesso in terms of everything. I'm actually not drawing my friend Dennis right now. And also special shout out to Dennis. Man, this video is because of you. So thank you very much for allowing me to use your face as my experimentation. Today I'm going to do a straight on portrait. I'm then going to freestyle on Thursday with another type of straight on portrait. I've got a couple of ideas I'm going to work out that evening live in front of you guys. And then after that, next week we'll do like profile or 3/4 or something like that. That way you've got some different angles, because there's certainly some angles. What's up, Emily? Certainly some angles that we see a lot in art that you will want to use. And I'm going to show you how to build them, how to think about color regions. So yeah, I've got a lot of exciting stuff planned. I mean, we can go really in depth with this kind of thing. So right now I'm just laying down a basic face. This guy is nothing special, nothing in particular. If you do know a guy who looks like this, don't tell him I said that. It wasn't meant directly at them. But really, this is just going to be a guy, and he's going to be a happy guy. Yay. Nice happy guy. All right, there we go. And he's going to have some eyes here like that. These kind of eyes. Boop, boop. Couple of nice little things down there. There we go. Head. Boop, boop. And yeah, man, this is so much fun. You know what? I'm gonna just draw myself. I'm gonna make this guy look more like me, and I'm gonna give him a messy hairstyle. Golly, I know I just got on my soapbox about what the quarantine thing is, and I am like also excited to go back to the real world, but I definitely want to do that safely, because I like a lot of people, and I want to keep these people in my life as safely as I can. All right, let's see. Boom. There we go. So this guy's got some wild hair. I've got more hair than I usually like to keep at this point. I tend to get this kind of like mullety looking, like cowlick whip out in the back too. And it's just kind of like, oh man. The late 1980s called. They said you forgot your denim jacket at their place. All right. So this is a general face, right? And maybe I can scoot that just a little closer, make it a little bit bigger for you guys, since my face is not the important one. It's the face that we're working on. All right. So, and I think this is kind of looking like a split between me and Dennis. All right. So here is the face that I'm going to just use as a reference. Let's talk a little bit about color zones. So there's three real color zones in art or when you're looking at the face. You've got basically this arc here where this top part is called the maxilla, and the mandible are like down here underneath your orbital bones. You've got really not a lot of, or you've got like a lot of bone density, but you've also got a lot of empty space here. And then for men and some women, we have a tendency to grow fur here on the face, which has a blue to blue-green tint to it. If you like squint your eyes, you're looking at me through a camera lens, which is not reality. It's a computer's version of reality. So some of the information that you would actually see in a real life situation, giving light and the conditions, but under white light, the light we get from the sun, you would see bluish tones if you like squint real hard and look. The next section is going to be your red zone. So this is where we get a lot of flush in the cheeks. So some could say that the nose is a little bit of a green zone too. Kind of depends, but generally, if you see like a bulbous nose or a lot of noses, you've been wiping your nose a lot because maybe you got some regular flu and not the coronavirus. Or you wear glasses like I do, and sometimes you get a little red line here. We got a lot of redness here, a lot of redness here in the eyes, and that's not just from being not sleep deprived. Actually, you get a pretty good night's sleep. But you get this whole red area here, and that's because we get a lot of blood flow in this area. This is a lot of signaling area that we use to communicate with one another. Ears also typically fall in the red zone. You can see on my ears that they're kind of pink now, kind of telling on myself. Yeah, well, maybe not on Instagram. I don't know what color it shows on Instagram. I can review the YouTube ones, but the Instagram ones, I guess, well, anyway. All right, so I've got my green zone here, and I'm just going to kind of lightly shade that in. I picked this more electric green. I could have picked an electric blue too. But what it does for me is it just kind of shows up really easy so that you can see what I'm doing. Now, obviously, there's going to be parts where you introduce other colors, but generally when you think about the tonalities of the skin and where you are, you could use an undercoat for that green. And actually, that's coming out pretty good. I'm doing this on the fly. I didn't actually experiment with this before the video because painting this paper is an interesting process. Let me get into our red zone here. Now, one thing to note is the way that I'm holding the pencil. This is actually a process. I learned it, and then I tried to look it up as I'm building out my website because I do want to be accurate with terminology. The words that we use help us navigate reality. So as you learn art, or as I show you the way that I make art, I want to make sure that I'm being correct in my explanations. So I looked and looked and looked and looked, and turns out scumbling is a watercolor technique. So I'm going to have to work on my vocabulary a little bit. But at any rate, what I'm doing is I'm turning the pencil, and notice I sharpened. I forgot to do tools for success. So always I like to have my tools of success ready and at hand when I'm sitting down to make art. Today I've got just a regular cup, a pencil sharpener, two-sided. You can get single-sided, I don't care. And then my colored pencils. Today I'm going to be working in white, red. This is Sanford's Prismacolor Rouge. This is the Vert Printemps Spring Green. And this one is Orange Espagnol. So this is Spanish orange, which I thought Naranja was orange, but maybe not. Maybe Prismacolor hired outside consultants for Como Hablar Español. All right, so not that I speak any good Spanish, speak enough to get in trouble. All right, so then I get into the yellow zone. Oh man, that's not showing up as well as I wanted. Maybe I could use a different yellow. We could I don't have my damn near the same yellow. Orange Soleil, yellow sunburst. Yellow is a very unstable color. If you want to talk about like color theory for a second, yellow is a very unstable color. Next time you've got a color wheel pulled up on your computer, look at actually how small the pure yellow section is. Yellow is easily tainted in the blue or red direction. So you get greens really easily, grays if you start throwing purples in there, oranges, gold colors. And one could even argue that yellow is like pure yellow in like a little slice. And then over here, like you're just starting to get into the other colors. You're getting into green and your secondary colors. Anyway, so this here is going to establish kind of the color regions so that we have an understanding of what kind of tones, as I continue to build up the face, I'll be using to represent. What's up, Cliff? How are you, brother? What I'll be using to represent the face here. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is going to be a bit of a challenge. Here's kind of a quick lesson. If you ever are wanting to draw from a photo reference, I highly recommend that you make your canvas and your photo in better alignment. But I want you to be able to see and watch how I'm doing this so that you can see, again, what kind of marks I'm making on the page and how I'm using this to build the object or build the structure. So I want to be able to look back and forth, but the easier and the less I have to move, the more accurate that I'm going to have a tendency to be. That's why I did the drawing earlier today, because I think while this is going to look like Dennis, because I'll be building his features out, I don't know how similar it will be to his actual face. Okay, so bear that in mind as we go. Even Sean Z is not 110% all the time. That's okay. So like I've talked about, I like to build a loose circle, ball the head. From here, let's see. Now, I generally will, I wonder, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use this telephone now because I sure enough can. Boop, boop. All right, cool. I'm just going to use my phone. And yes, my screen is cracked. It will not prevent you from being able to draw a portrait. So, Instagram, if you can see, I hope you can. If you can't see, just, build a bridge, I guess. So I come down, for me, myself, I try to come down and generally find the angle of the face. I'll do my verticals, but I kind of want to keep my underdrawing clean. The next thing that I'm going to point out is I'm starting to use a lot of straight lines. Here, I'm not trying to find curves. I think that there's a tendency when we try to find curves right away that we use the wrong curves. And if I just think about straight lines, I can actually do some pretty cool effects with straight lines. The other temptation is, because I've done this drawing essentially already, so I'm going around, I'm defining my overall shape first. Big brow, he's a man, Dennis is. I guess Coach Dennis, I don't know, maybe Coach Dennis. Dennis is a friend of mine. I met Dennis last year in Germany. We did a jiu-jitsu camp last year, and we just hit it off, man. He's just one of those people you can just, get to know and, enjoy. He's, cool dude. All right, so I'm going to give him a little smile. Yeah, I'm going to just a little peek up there. And put on some of these labial marks here. That means lips, in case you were wondering. And okay, let me locate the eyes here. So I always like to start small when I do the eyes. If I'm using white like this, I'm pretty much drawing the iris or the pupil, the pupil first. And then I'm going to start to build out from there. So notice I switched how I'm holding the tool from here to here, right? I'm going to break that because I really want to be staying on the side right now, so that I can just continue to work my shapes and find my distances. Um, you know, part of what I'm drawing is not the actual like body part, right? What I'm really trying to find is the space between things. So let me give you an example. Um, I'm really not going to try to draw his nose. I'm going to try to draw, like if I get into a tricky part, actually his nose is pretty easy. I'm not going to use his nose. Is that? But if I get into a tricky part, I'll use the reference, the negative space between things as a way to build out what it is that I'm trying to draw. Because, you know, the eye, it doesn't care, right? It doesn't know what it's looking at. It's just feeding information into your brain. And it will recognize the shapes, even if you have put in there the idea of the positive space or the negative space. So I'm going around, and this guy looks pretty generic. He's, you know, just a doodly looking dude. And most of us are doodly looking people, or you know, galley, or, you know, however you identify. I don't really care. That's never been a thing that I've cared about. Uh-huh. All right, there we go. And the nose is kind of a triangle shape a little bit here. I'm using white. I hope is that coming out okay? Can y'all see me okay? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's looking all right. I'm happy with that. Sorry, YouTube. I might have to think about how to adjust how you're seeing, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm here. I'm actually building this slightly different from how I did last time. I'm still on the side. I just rotated the tool so that I could hit it from a new angle. All right, there we go. Yeah, there we go. That's looking all right. Make his jaw just a little square. See, this is why I like to work loose, because if I'm having a point on here, it makes my life a lot more difficult trying to erase this stuff. And that's, I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. Maybe you've heard of that expression. If you haven't, then basically it just means it's easier to do it right the first time than it is to mess it up and go back and try to do it again. But even still, you can try to work smarter and you still mess it up. Such is the way of life, you know. A couple of points here about the ridge. So I'm kind of drawing the bow here of the skull. And then for men and some women, it doesn't matter. But typically what you see is a heavier ridge bone here. So I've got a flat surface here, and then it meets the ridge of my brow. And that brow, boop, bumps out. So I'm drawing that kind of as a fat M shape. You know, from the front, it's kind of a fat M shape. Not that I'm necessarily calling your head there fat, but what I am saying is that's kind of the shape that I'm doing there. So. And you know, I know that this is not looking exactly like him yet, but I'm having fun, and that's the most important thing. And I hope you're having a good time, because that's kind of the goal of this whole thing. Keep people sane, keep people safe, you know, as we social distance through this thing. So, um, yeah, anybody listening to any good music? I'm always wondering, like, I sometimes wish that I could play music because while I draw, maybe that's one of the reasons why I talk so much, is, while I draw, I generally have headphones in and I am jamming out. Like, I'm working on a new big painting. It's the biggest painting I've worked on in a while. I guess it's a painting. I don't know. Whatever oil pastel is, whatever that medium is supposed to be. Um, but it's that medium, and it's kind of soupy, kind of liquid. So it's kind of like a painting, but at the same point, I'm using a stick, so maybe it's more like a whatever. Anyway, um, all right. So I'm pretty much going around here. So anyway, I'd love to listen to some music, and I always love getting recommendations from new music. I think one of the reasons, and if they get a hold of this audio, they are free to use it. Well, not free. I mean, pay me. I'm an artist. We got to make our money. But the best features of Spotify is to discover the new artists part. Man, it's like a bloodhound. You can just find good stuff on a regular basis. So notice, I'm working all the way around. I'm moving to parts, but I'm keeping the same general pressure. If I were to do like a hard line pressure, that's what the marks over here look like. That's hard line. This over here is going to be soft. So that's why the value, it's not as vivid white. And I'm doing that for a reason. I want to make sure that I'm not being too vivid with it, because when I want to pull hot white somewhere with your eyes, I don't want the hot white to be all used up so that your eye doesn't read it as the way I want it to. I used to think, man, I don't care what people see. I'm making the art. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. I wanna be able to shift their focus the way that I want. Just doing little circles. You'll see a lot of real fine portrait artists work this process. I follow a couple of accounts. Their name escapes me right now, but it's always a joy to watch, or not watch, but sometimes they'll show photos of their process because it's very time consuming. You've got to basically do the black and gray painting and do the whole painting black and gray, and then come back and do the color on top of it. And generally it's a little bit more muted, the color. So the temptation is just to put value everywhere. That's not really a good idea. You got to so now I'm letting the black be the black here on the page. And you're like, well, there's not black there. That's his face. It's like, well, yeah, but chill out. Okay. And that ear is mostly white. And see, I'm just scribbling. I'm just kind of filling in. You guys are watching me. Now I'm gonna save the hot white for the eyes later on. I want to be able to, yeah, kind of like what I was just saying. I want to be able to come back into it and use the point a little bit. All right, so now let's do some of this green tone. To just make this thing come alive a little bit, I might go grab a blue as well. I'm going around. Maybe I'll do some more of that white in here too. I'm starting to bring this out in here. Now, of course, a more muted green is also probably, well, not also, depending on how realistic I'm trying to get, the more muted green I'm going to bring in. Me, myself, I like to just move the color a little bit around in the face. That way I do have some nice color movement. I think that, when you think about designing, a piece of art like this, I like to think about it as an experience that I'm giving to somebody. So I want them to have a good experience. I want them to enjoy and receive delight from looking at this piece of art. Yeah, I might at some point hit the pause and go get. And what I'm doing, so once my eye is attuned to seeing this green and putting it down, I'm kind of automatically going to where I'm seeing the green on his face. Now, some of it's illusion, some of it maybe I'm making up. But at any rate, I'm gonna throw a little. He's got these lovely blue eyes, nice blue eyes, but I don't have blue yet, so I'm gonna just throw some green down, and it's fine because they'll still be nice when he gets back. All right. Okay, cool. Now, green. Now we're going to throw down some of this red business. Okay, I'll go back into it. Not enough red down there. Let me do that. So I'm going to stop putting red down there so I don't have to cover it up as much. I make a lot of mistakes, guys. I'm just really good at covering them up, especially with dry media. You thought, huh? You thought it was all perfect the first time. Smoke and mirrors, guys. Smoke and mirrors. Okay. Got some red over here. Now, here we go. Oh, wait, yeah, that's more. Yeah, it looks maybe like he's sunburned, so I'll bring that yellow on there. Wow, look at that. I have a preference not to use white, more so in oil paintings. I have a preference not to use white because the stuff it's cool. The pigment itself is cool. So when you try to mix it with your warm red, what you wind up with is the opposite. You kind of cool it off. And pink is a little bit cooler than red is warm. So yeah, that's some advanced snozberries right there for you, but nonetheless, it's still good stuff for you to learn at any stage. Well, okay. I wind up looking like this a lot, where I've got my pencil in my mouth. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 That's how you start to get those real pretty blending colors. I don't work with enough color. This is kind of showing me that I should work with more color. I used to just, because I'm a skilled drafts person, draftsman, I can draw pretty much whatever, I see. I don't know that, the idea is to teach you how to do it. I'm trying, But, color is a mystery. I mean, there's so much to color. There's so many moving parts. You start bringing in color. And, I'm doing color on top of color right now to maybe make things not as extreme. I'm kind of softening up a little bit, giving them some light. Now, because I'm scumbling, I'm able to move that pigment around a lot easier. So I don't have to work as hard to bring values up. Oh yeah, let me do the forehead. Yeah. Espagnole. Oh. This is so interesting. I haven't played around like this in a long time. It's probably been, I don't know, 10 years since I played around like this. I did an apprenticeship back in, oh, I don't know, 2008, maybe 2009. I was dating my ex. Oh, man. Wow. Long time ago. Okay. Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, I did an apprenticeship under a portrait painter for a summer. Maybe it was an internship, whatever. Doesn't matter. And he had a slightly different process. It was one that was good. Uh, uh, but for me, I haven't worked in color like this in a long time. So this is kind of fun playing, seeing what happens when I add more of one tone to the next, to the next, to the next. Maybe this is something that you just can't do in a 1 hour video. I imagine that's probably the case. If I can take off some of these. Part of this may just be because I'm working on black. I don't know. Real loose. I like to work real loose the whole time. Gives me that painterly look. And now what I'm doing is I'm really just looking for shapes. I'm looking for opportunities to make little shapes, like little triangles or, yeah, squares. I'm thinking about this nostril that I'm doing right now, and it's basically a couple of triangles on top of each other. I need purple. I feel like I need purple. Purple would help me go to where I want to go. Oh, no, that came from. I don't know where it came from, but I just covered it up. You see that? It's gone. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I actually want that to be white. Yeah. Another part that I want to just kind of highlight is pigment density here. So as I'm adding more pigment to the page, I'm able to create more, like more direction with things. So I'm going to kind of draw tip of the nose, kind of like a weird underpants shape, by the way, in case you're wondering how you do that. And I'm just doing that for style. But anyway, whiten these eyes. So here's something to think about. It's widest right by the pupil, at least square on in this lighting. And then because the eyeball is a sphere, a lot of people make the mistake of painting the eyes like white right away. And what that does, or marking them white all the way, what that does is it makes them start to look flat, when in reality, they're round, right? So just making sure that we're not putting as much pigment down, or we start to cool it off with some other colors. Yeah, blue would definitely help me with this one. That's okay. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. I'm just drawing shapes. You know? Seeing shapes, drawing shapes. Seeing shapes, drawing shapes. Oh, it shouldn't have been yellow. That's okay. This guy's gonna look like he's Halloween themed. Uh, one coconut. Uh, uh, two coconuts. I don't know where the coconuts are coming from, but it made me think of the Count, Count the Count, Count from Sesame Street. Yeah, yeah. There we go. Mhm. I'm just bringing out more of the cheeks. How's that looking? Whoa, that looks terrible. Ha ha! That looks like a clown. That's funny. Start to learn the regions, because that's the important thing. Learning the regions. Sorry, Dennis. This is why I did the good one first, the earlier one. So you can have that one. I promise I will not subject your grandmother to the remainder of her years having to look at this thing. Oh man, it's too funny. All right. I think it's really this mint green. Ooh-wee. You know what excites me about this? I'm actually thinking that I need to go back and learn some more techniques myself. And I follow another couple of accounts on Instagram that have some really good art tutorials. So I might just take those and dupe them a little bit. Not dupe them, but like take the class and then use the techniques and then, you know, try to learn the techniques as I teach you what I learned. Because, you know, one thing that I've learned from this is a lot of people just enjoy the idea of just being with somebody that they like, or maybe you're a stranger, I don't know. If you are a stranger, you know, welcome, friend. You know, that's cool. I'm glad you made it. Okay. It's starting to look like a Lucian Freud drawing here. If you know who Lucian Freud is, drop me a comment because that's dope. Lucian Freud was Sigmund Freud's nephew and was equally of that same, I guess, genius, madness, whatever you might call it, that motivated those people to be that way, you know, consummately exploring, um, you know, and really defining the way we understand the world. I mean, you know, Sigmund Freud helped us understand the world a lot better. We remember like the woogie parts that don't make a lot of sense, but there's a lot of parts in there that just explain life so well that we don't even think about it anymore, right? So, oh, I just throw a lot of white in this bad boy. Okay. The temptation is to draw all the things instead of picking the thing to draw or not to draw. That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of great misfortune. Quote that particular part. Hamlet outline. Okay, so notice working through this portrait in phases, right? So I started off real loose. Now I'm tightening up here. I'm moving the pigment throughout the paper. And creating and redefining more shapes that are on top of the shapes already. I'm also being mindful of the pressure I'm using on here. I might tap in this green here because I'm getting this green area here, a greener area, I should say. Part of this might also be because I'm looking at this on a computer screen, and I'll go ahead and just commit and make that green. I'm working in a limited color palette too. Excuses. Oh my God, are you going to just shut up and draw? Yeah. Okay. That is actually a hot shadow. So another little pointer here for you at home. If you see warm colored shadows, you have cool light. If you see cool shadows, you have warm light. So I actually have warmer shadows. I'm going to go in here and get dark. I might have to bust out some brown just so I don't drive myself crazy. Oh man, coming up on time. So I'm working to even out the skin tone a little bit more. I've got some pretty harsh things going on with just how uh, generous I was. Maybe I'll just use that as a reference point. Yeah, generous. That's what it was. I'm just more generous with certain tones. Bringing colors right on top of each other really starts to make the difference as well. Eliminating some of that black so that you get more consistency. Yeah, let's stick with that for now. So here's an interesting idea. You want to make brown. Mix red and green together. You get brown. Now, obviously, oh, that's yellow. Obviously, I'm going to be limited because I don't have a darker brown. I also don't have a darker. That's coming out all right. I might warm him up a little bit more. It's coming out. It's going to come around. I'll figure it out, or I'll just throw it away, and I'll have this like haunting reminder every once in a while. Whenever I see Dennis again, he'll try to fight me. I bet. Bet money. Next time I see you, Dennis, it's a fight. I will fight you, brother. And I'll win. I don't care if you've been teaching martial arts. I've been teaching martial arts. I can do it too, you know. Fight. Your style meets my style. All right, sorry. Kung Fu nerd. Uh-huh. Yep. He's just such a nice guy. I like this guy. That's the fun thing about art too, is as you use a reference like this, you really get to spend a lot of time looking at this person. So I would suggest if you're going to draw a face or something like that, that you pick a face of a person that you like or enjoy. It'll make you happy just looking at them all that time. So if you got a best friend or, I think last time I talked a little bit about giving art as a gift. Man, I would love it if I got a piece of art as a gift. I just bought some art actually. I bought a print off of someone's Instagram. It was cool, man. It's a golden ninja or a golden dragon ninja, and I think about how cool it would have been to be a ninja. They knew a mostly formed version of today's jujitsu. We've got some advancements, in the way that we do things, but pretty much they could take a person to the ground and, eliminate them, kind of period. They're no longer a threat. Yeah. There we go. I'm getting real close to the end on this pencil. And as you can see, I'm just kind of starting to bring out these little color zones. softening things up a little bit. Oh, yeah, that's starting to look a little bit more normal, I would say. This green business, though, woof. Somebody lied to me. Anyway, all right, let's see. I'm getting him, though. He's coming around. You just got to be mindful of the shapes. And you want to make sure that, I'm moving really fast because I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. But as you do this, I do encourage you to just slow it down. Enjoy the moment, enjoy the process of making art. Enjoy just the fact that you're working on yourself and you're developing a skill. I receive a number of compliments for my ability to draw. I get to interface with cool people. I've had a lot of people volunteer to allow me to use their photos. And I think that's kind of fun, man, because, art imitates life, and life is sure a lot of fun to live. So some of y'all are letting me enjoy my life even more simply by being able to make some cool art along the way. So I'm going to wear this white pencil out doing this, but that's okay. It's fun doing it anyway. I like that. It's coming around. Oh boy. Oh man. It really doesn't look as bad as that. You take this like weird mustache area away. People are like, oh, thank God. We thought he was like some weird, like evil mustachioed Joker or something. It's like, no, he's not some evil mustachioed Joker. He could be. Dentistry, the Joker. That's something to tell us. Yeah. 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 It's not too bad. Pretty happy, all things considered. Those eyes came out, man. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Yeah. Probably wouldn't use so much green all over the place next time. White's not the most stable color either. You can see because I'm able to manipulate white and other things. If it was more stable, it would hold truer to itself. Golly, man, I'm just getting into this. I feel like I've been sucked into a vacuum. Okay, all right. Instagram has ended. So for those of y'all who've been sticking around, thanks so much. But let's see, does the initial circle you drew include his hairline or stop? Oh, hey, okay. So sorry. Yeah, Cody, I'll go ahead and answer your question, man. I got into ceramics. Yeah, I never did fibers. And then as far as, I thought that this thing would maybe play a tone, but no, it didn't. As far as the initial circle, that's the dome of the head. So that initial circle is that piece. Then what I do on top of that is that's where I start adding things like hair and stuff, because I'm bald first and then I've got hair that grows out of it. And hair is the next shape that I do. So Cody, you're always welcome in to message me offline. Those of y'all who have been watching, from my heart to yours, thank you so much. Thanks for watching me butcher this piece of paper. And I'll see you on Thursday, where I've got a different idea. Same premise, but we'll be making some different art. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you around. Cheers. Uh-huh.